has his own things to investigate, like Ashley's hard ass.
Drink less or more.
I'm working on one of those. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so Nihilus is on the ground. Hello, and welcome to the games that made us feel uncomfortable things about blue women with tentacles on their head. I'm Brent, and I'm here with my friend Kirk. Say hi, Kirk.
My name's Kirk, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel.
And we're joined, as always, by our good friend Benny. Say hi, Benny.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you all for joining us again today. We are drinking. That's not news. But let's talk about what we're drinking. I have the same as last episode, which our clever listeners may have deduced was mere moments ago. I am still drinking Quark Cranberry Apple Cinnamon Hard Seltzer, and I am about halfway through the 12-pack, so that should tell you how the rest of this episode is going to go. Kirk, what do you got over there?
I got Boulevard's Strawberry Wheat. It's their staple wheat beer, but with a little extra something on it.
Yeah.
Personally, I enjoy their kiwi and grapefruit ones a little more than the strawberry, but the strawberry is also very, very good. I'm happy they're doing more with their staple Boulevard Wheat line than just keeping it by its own lonesome, especially with what they do with their other series like Space Camper and etc.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, I think that strawberry adjunct flavor works really nicely with the the kind of cloudy wheat.
Yeah,
the weediness of it.
Absolutely. There's a
show me your weediness, Kirk.
well, like here,
strawberry and wheat is a good combination. Benny, what you got there?
I am drinking a Winter Grind coffee stout by Mother's Brewing.
Oh, I love Mother's.
And it's nice. It's like a smoky coffee stout. It's a smoky stout with coffee.
Yeah, I've had it. It's good.
Yeah, it's really palatable for being a fairly. Well, actually, it's not that strong, 6%, but that's just fine for a nice little daily drinker kind of stout.
Hell yeah, I love stouts. I don't know. How are things? Tell me about your things.
Well, like here?
Yes. Okay.
What was that?
I thought you just ripped ass on there.
That was a fart.
That sounded like it came from the fridge or something.
Well, maybe my fridge is dying. Or maybe it's like that one time I dropped acid and my fridge ran out the door and I had to go chase it down. And then I wound up running through the neighborhood where all the professors live singing, "Why can't we be friends?" Or "Why can't bitches be hoes?" to the tune of "Why can't we be friends?" Maybe it's like that.
That was one crazy Yom Kippur.
You're a modern man, aren't you, Brady? You're just a modern gentleman.
Now,
I'm the very model of a modern major general. I used to know the whole thing. I don't anymore. Okay.
If I ripped ass, I'd be laughing.
Let's just move on.
This is a strong start, guys.
Strong start. 10 out of 10. Let's just move on and let's talk about the game that we're talking about because I have a feeling we're going to have a lot to say about this one. This is Benny's pick, and Benny, would you like to introduce our game?
I would.
Of the fortnight.
It's not Fortnite.
But thankfully not Fortnite.
Just be glad. We are talking about 2007's Mass Effect, developed by BioWare and published by Microsoft Game Studios.
Yes.
We're going to talk about specifically the first one primarily, because it's
the only one I've played.
It's also a different creature than the two games that follow it, even though they're perfectly in agreement with each other in terms of story. But the first game is really a very different game.
Yeah.
And so it's got a lot of relevance to in some way, some other games that we've played too. And I'm sure Brent has intention to talk about some of
hell
that.
Yeah.
Because along with Mass Effect, BioWare developed Baldur's Gate, which we've talked about. Neverwinter Nights, which is something that came up during that episode.
Yep.
and the original Dragon Age, and then also Knights of the Old Republic. So there's some really legendary series and standalone games that were developed kind of within a very short span of time too. We're talking about just over 10 years of development for all of those games I listed. About 11 and a half years, I think, to have all of those games released. So like
Canadians are industrious, man. They get shit done.
And BioWare went through a lot of changes.
Give them a Molson and a thing of maple syrup and wind them up and watch them go.
Just don't turn on the hockey game or they'll all be fucking distracted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, nothing will get done that day.
Yeah, but if you bring in some poutine and a Mountie, you got a party going again.
Or if you Mountie that poutine, you have a really good night.
Brent wins.
Yep.
So yeah, this is one of my favorite game series in general. And it's, I honestly can't say this is my favorite game of the series, but it lays some of the groundwork, and it's just fantastic. Like, it's fantastic for the time, and it does a lot of very new things, or it learns, God, I always say this, but it learns the lessons of the things that came before it. I think that's important. I don't know. Where do we want to start? Just kind of introduce the setting and the styling of the game.
Let's start with like kind of where you came to it and what your background is with the game and
yeah. So I think it was about a year after the game, probably about a year after the game came out, that I watched a friend of mine, a roommate, play probably a third of the game. We worked at the same bar, and
lived above
the same bar, and did nothing but like bartend and bounce and waste time and drink. And so I was just wasting time and watching a game, and eventually it became compelling enough that I was like, okay, I got to play that one myself.
Right.
I didn't have, so this was originally released for the Xbox 360,
right? And
I didn't have one at the time. And eventually I would save up enough money to buy one. And this was one of the first games I played on it, actually.
Yeah.
So
one of my favorite consoles of all time. Like,
other than the hardware issues, fantastic console.
Yeah. If it didn't have the Red Ring of Death issue, I would have one.
And some of the other, like some of the hard drive failure rates and some of the controller issues that it had. I mean, it had a lot of hardware issues for such a popular console.
It's kind of shitty, but I love it. Yeah.
I mean, so much so that Microsoft basically reinvented the entire thing and re-released a new version of it several years later. I think about 3 or 4 years after the release.
Right.
Which I still have that like second gen console, and it still runs fine.
Yeah. It's kind of, to me, the 360 kind of represents the start of, like, to me, it's the inflection point between retro gaming and modern gaming. Like, I would say that there's an awful lot of games on the 360/PS3 that still feel pretty fresh today.
And the 360 just did, well, multiplayer gaming better than what Sony ever hoped, and had app support. You had Netflix and everything starting to come into play, and then 360 or Microsoft was smart enough on the 360 to put apps like Netflix, who was the big player back in that day, directly on their platform, which made it even more popular.
Absolutely.
And we're starting to see the first versions of facilitating exactly what Kirk's talking about. The console's running as more of like a computer that then basically is like a dedicated gaming computer that doesn't have all the overhead of like a Windows operating system. Although that's basically what the 360 is.
Sure.
Under the hood, which is a topic for another podcast, really, but kind of a fascinating thing that they really realized where things were going.
Where gaming was going, I would love at some point to do episodes on individual consoles rather than games.
Or hardware.
Yeah, and just be like, hey, like, this is our episode about the original Xbox or whatever, and we could talk about our experiences with it and stuff like that.
I mean, we could almost break it down to like controllers, because I mean,
I can talk about controllers.
Like,
all day.
what, why is the 360 that controller released for this console is kind of the epitome, or the start of the epitome of like the FPS controller, and like it's the bifurcation of.
It's still
one of the two standards that everybody picks from.
And honestly, well, with our big American hands, like the standard controller.
Big, strong hands.
Yeah, because I love the PlayStation controller, but what drives me crazy is its handles are too short because they're meant for tiny Asian hands, not my gigantic American hands. I'm not trying to be...
No.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because it's true, not because it's wrong.
And there's nothing wrong with that, having the smaller hands and being Japanese. Like, I can't shit on you for that. Like, you just...
Yeah.
And
it's a matter of anatomy and physics. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And I'm sure someone will disagree with me here, but I think that there's an ergonomic benefit to the offset, the asymmetric analog sticks for a shooting game, which is what this is. And so this really starts leveraging the ergonomics of shooting. I mean, this game is not a great shooter overall.
No.
But as a control scheme goes, it takes advantage of that just fine.
Yeah, it controls very well. The issues that it has as a third-person shooter are not control related.
I will say, I think that so we should not be upfront, but we should kind of put a disclaimer on which version of this we're playing.
Sure.
I think Kirk and I have both played the original versions of this. Yep. So he and I have played the original trilogy was released on the Xbox 360, and each of the games until the third game were released first on the Xbox and then later ported to other consoles. Right. So like the PlayStation 3 got Mass Effect 1 and 2 like a year or two after they were released.
And there's a Wii U port of
3. Yeah. There is one wacky Wii port of the one game, and then this is the one that Brent played, and I went ahead and picked this up for the guys because it was on crazy sale on Steam. Yeah. We're playing the Legendary Edition, which includes Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, all remastered and basically optimized for play on a modern computer, and it really does play well. Yeah. But I did want to put that
definitely pirate it. For sure. And I'll talk about that later.
I definitely wanted to say exactly what platform we're talking about here, because I think that the control scheme has been fiddled with to our benefit in this. Yeah. Like, if you remember, Kirk, I don't think there's any reticle stickiness. I don't think there's really any. I think they say there's aim assist on the 360 version, but I remember it being very unwieldy. Mm-hmm. And this one, I play most of my games even on PC with a controller.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty clear just from the podcast. But it controls really nice. Like, aiming is really nice. The reticle has an appropriate amount of stickiness for aim. So
I had not played the original.
Not to get too much into gameplay yet, but I wanted to mention why that's significant. The version we're playing.
I want to echo what you said though, because I had not played the original Mass Effect before. I had some experience with 3, and actually I was confused as to whether it was 2 or 3, and then Benny and I were talking about it. I was like, no, definitely 3, because I'm playing through 2 right now. And I emulated the 360 version, about 2-3 hours of it, just to kind of get a sense for the difference.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, because you had mentioned that you were like, kind of like to, at least have some background in that. And yeah, the controls felt snappier and cleaner on the Legendary Edition. Not substantially so. It didn't feel like night and day, but it did definitely feel like it controlled a little cleaner and had more of that under the hood Halo style, you just did what you wanted to do without you even realizing it kind of thing, which I'm sure is part of the remaster.
I think we should kind of give an exposition on what the game is.
Yeah,
and
let's talk a little bit about the game itself and how it plays and what genre it falls into and shit. Because I think this is really interesting, and it was so. Background: I had played, like I said, I had played some of Mass Effect 3 a long time ago when I was hanging out with. I was living on somebody's couch and they had it. I kind of had the same experience you did, Benny, where I was watching somebody else play the game and I was like, oh yeah, that looks cool. But I don't like shooters in general. And we've discussed that on the show. I think I've played more first and third person shooters in the last year for the podcast than I have in the previous 10 years. But so I was watching my buddy play it, and I was like, I don't really know how much I love it. But I was interested in the story. The story seemed really cool. And so I had played a little bit of it and bounced off it. And this time going through Mass Effect 1, it clicked with me. I had this revelation. It's like, I need to stop thinking about this as a third-person shooter. I need to start thinking about it as a CRPG, because that's really what this is at its core. And we can talk about the reasons why I think that later on, but
I can absolutely see why you'd say that. And I think the accolades that come before it that I listed just a few minutes ago kind of explain why that's a valid position.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're talking about a third-person shooter sci-fi game. It takes place in the larger Milky Way galaxy as a whole. Humanity has... they kind of brush over this, and then they'll go back to this in later games, but there's been a massive technological advance. A couple of them have happened kind of in sequence for humanity. So first, humanity discovers basically an interstellar gateway system. Oh my God, I'm blanking on what they're called right now.
Mass relay.
The mass relay. So they discover a mass relay. It's on Mars, right, Kirk?
Yep.
Or they find an ancient civilization on Mars first, which leads them to the
mass relay.
Protheans.
Yes. So we find the mass relay, or the remains
Prothean.
of the Prothean ruins on Mars,
Right.
which leads us to the mass relay, which also has expanded our technology through what's called Mass Effect, which is a previously unknown element, or the use of a previously unknown element, which is later revealed to be called Element Zero, that when a current is applied to it, produces a field that changes the mass of something within it. And not to get too into the weeds about the physics, but it basically changes that formula of mass and energy, and basically allows facilitates faster than light travel, and a whole bunch of other aspects of the universe that we'll touch on, or that the game will touch on later.
Yeah.
And so humanity has joined a galactic civilization, which is headquartered in an ancient structure known as the Citadel. Right. It was created by unknown hands. It is headed up by a council of a number of spacefaring races, and
some of them who are very hot.
Yeah, weirdly hot.
Weirdly hot.
To have real confusing and special feelings for.
Special.
The sexual and romantic elements of this game will come into play.
Yes.
In one way or another, and probably in these conversations, because we cannot have an episode where we don't talk about tiny pixelated boobies.
Yeah. This is true.
And so humanity has joined this galactic civilization of many alien races, which have differing relationships with us and with each other. Right. And the complex, socio-political relationships come into play, and humanity's relative newness in this galactic civilization basically is where we start.
Right.
With this game.
One thing I want to say real quick is I really loved how this game explains its backstory, because it attacks it from two very separate avenues, which one, you get little bits of it in a very realistic way from just interacting with NPCs and from your party members.
And sometimes your party members will just share things with you as you're navigating the world. And
yeah, I think is it Caden
Elenko?
Elenko, that's it. He has been exposed to Element Zero, and so he has some of that history. And you talk to these different people from different races, and they have some of that history. And there's never a massive exposition dump. Yeah. It's always just piecemeal. But if you go into the menu, there's the codec, and the codec is basically a running encyclopedia of the history and culture of this world that you add to gradually as you encounter new things. And so it's really cool because you can engage with the backstory of this game as much or as little as you choose. If you're somebody who's really into it and really into the world building, it's there in spades.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be that level of turbo nerd like I am, where I'm like, I want to know everything about these characters. I want to know everything about the Turians and all these different like races and cultures. Yeah. And I love that BioWare was smart enough to let us make that choice and let you engage with it where you wanted to.
And BioWare is famous for this. And your relative awareness or lack thereof of the world that you're in influences your experience as you play the game for multiple reasons. We'll talk about the morality system that this game implements, but also it could affect the dialogue choices you make if you're aware of some of the history or some of the dynamics.
Are you insinuating this is a choices matter game?
Ah, fuck. God damn it. But here's the thing. It really does in this fucking game.
Yeah, it
actually makes a fucking difference.
And it matters for the entire trilogy, too. I mean, to BioWare's credit, the choices matter not just in this game, but if you choose to carry your save states over, they will also impact the following games.
Yeah.
Oh, and it made me so sad.
Like if anyone has ever played Witcher, same thing.
Yeah.
I loaded up by Mass Effect 2, and it popped up with a little like, hey, is this right? Is this your biography? And it's like, failed to save Rex. And I was like, God damn it. You have to remind me of that right this second. Yeah, no, it does. It's very smart about the way that it implements a morality system and your choices impacting the flow of the game, where it does it subtly and behind the scenes, and there's never that moment where it's like, do you kill grandma or not? And it's like, no, that nobody would pick kill grandma. Like, fuck you.
Like
I'd kill my grandma.
When you're like when you're backed into a place where you have to, like, where that kind of decision has to happen, it's because you backed yourself into that corner.
Yeah.
It's not because you would elect that choice. It's because your choices you've made your choices and now you have to live with them.
I will say, I fucking let Ashley die and I was fine with it. Fuck that bitch.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
I usually save Ashley and let Caden die because Caden annoys me sometimes.
I like Caden way more than Ashley. Ashley sucked.
She
shot Rex in the back of the head. What a bitch.
Well,
if you get your Paragon or Renegade points.
Okay,
well, we'll talk about that system.
One decision flowed into the other. How about that?
Fair enough. So
I was still pissed at her after that.
So we have this very vibrant and living game.
Yes.
Brent didn't bang Ashley.
I did not fuck Ashley. I actually didn't fuck anybody in this game because I was trying to race through it as quickly as I could.
I also sped through it pretty quickly this playthrough and didn't really romance anybody this time through, and that's something that we can talk about with this game, because the romance options played a role in the wider world of video games where Mass Effect is concerned. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But so we are. I guess let's cover the story a little bit.
Yeah,
I covered the setting. So
plot,
we're opening on our protagonist, who is Commander Shepard. You can either play as a male or female version of the protagonist, and you are basically fresh out of some downtime after a unfortunate mission on another planet.
Right. And
you are sent in to investigate a happening at a human colony on a world, some distant world in the galaxy. And you arrive to find it
Eden Prime.
Eden Prime, yes. You arrive to find Eden Prime.
You're sent by Keith David.
Yes,
this is true.
Keith David.
Yeah, this game series has a pretty ridiculous voice acting
and
cast. As you go further into them, they continue to add more crazy cast members.
And sorry, real quick. If you choose to play the female version of Shepard, you are Jennifer Hale.
Yep.
This
FemShep.
I was talking to Kirk. This is officially our third Jennifer Hale game because she is in Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
And she's in Baldur's Gate. And she's in this. So this is, we like about a tenth of the games that we play are Jennifer Hale games.
So I was looking at her career basically as I was putting together some notes for this. She is a truly insane.
It's like wild.
Like if you're a human and you consume media for entertainment, you have heard or seen Jennifer Hale in at least like 5 things.
Unless you just sit in a room reading Louis L'Amour books, you have encountered Jennifer
She's probably
Hale.
Narrated one or something. Dude, like,
let's be real. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And it's almost unfortunate. So like her, like the accepted nomenclature, the fan term for the female shepherd is femshep. Like even she's like, it's like a term of endearment.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's not pejorative.
Yeah.
And it's almost unfortunate because credit where credit's due, the male actor is like the ubiquitous representation of Shepard for the most part, and he does a fantastic job as a voice actor. His interpretation of the character is excellent, but
his
Jennifer Hale's is also equally fantastic.
Yeah,
and so I recommend at least playing through one of the games as both just to get the full depth of the acting.
Yeah, they make her by default like a foxy redhead too, and I'm all about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do. I'm planning on replaying the first one mostly to save Rex, and I'm going to do the female Jennifer Hale version this time. So
fair enough.
Yeah, but anyway, Eden Prime.
Yeah. So we're on Eden Prime, and we've arrived to find like everything's in chaos. Can't seem to like really locate any of the human, like no survivors. We're not finding anybody.
Right.
And we quickly come across what seem to be the colonists impaled on crazy spikes.
Yeah.
And
they're blue.
They're blue. They have been transformed. They come down off of the spikes and immediately attack.
Or just run around in circles with their arms out in front of them.
Yes. Sometimes the AI in this game isn't always great. Yeah. Sometimes it's got some problems.
Sometimes the pathing just doesn't work.
And you're, but don't worry, your teammates will do the same thing.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This game is not perfect. Let's be clear about that from the start.
But super fun.
So we're exploring the colony, and we're quickly met by
fucking
more. Yes, I'm kind of glossing over that because you're going to have a cast of characters who is bigger than your team. So like you get to choose your team. You have 2 human companions and a number of alien companions that you can select.
Including some sexy ones.
They're all really cool too. Like they're great characters. Yes. Every one of them is worth playing with for a playthrough or for a little while just to like hear them and have them in some of your dialogue options. It's really fantastically done. But while you're exploring, you're quickly met by another robotic race, or like semi-synthetic is what they're called, synthetic race of enemies called the Geth. And they are creepy, cool.
So cool.
They're like, I struggle to even describe.
Sexy.
Very sleek, round.
Yeah.
Sleek,
I was going to say, this is just a horny game,
like,
or maybe I'm just a horny guy.
No,
I don't know.
It's a horny game.
Yeah,
it really is. But it's like a combination of like organic and machine. It's very, honestly, it's kind of like a more.
It's very Giger-esque.
Yeah. The Geth are like the Borg, but.
No, that's what I was going to say. It's kind of like the Borg, but less wiry and like more synthetic than flesh.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty good analog. And then your party runs across an ancient Prothean artifact or relic called the what is it, a beacon? God, why does my brain do this?
Yeah, I think it's just the beacon.
The beacon, that's right. And
it brain fucks you.
Well, Ashley starts getting brain fucked, and then Shepard quickly jumps in to save her.
Yes.
And takes the brunt of the brain fuck. And so basically this thing just brain dumps.
I did always giggle at Ashley's armor, though. Her default armor is like the cute, like full white with the pink stripes.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like so cute. Like, How can you make a character more of a girl?
I know it's very 2000.
She wears pink armor with a Hello Kitty on it.
Yeah. She's got like unicorn stickers all over it and I Heart Bieber
Which
or whatever.
is so not her personality
I know.
at all. She's a total hard ass.
Sorry,
Especially with the armor on.
this is true.
To get it, because their ass is hard.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Prothean Beacon.
Prothean Beacon, brain fuck.
You.
Yeah, but Vision of Doom.
You get downloads a bunch of scurry stuff into your brain. You get your melon gets all wacky with the alien bits.
You watch a little bit of Alien Resurrection, and then it keeps going.
Yeah,
It
pretty
really,
much.
the Visions do have like a real Cronenbergian kind of.
Yeah.
Very
like,
much so, yeah. The game picks up, and Shepard is immediately like interpreting what they think they saw, which was like some sort of a portent of doom and doom. Bad
Wait.
stuff.
Doom.
Yeah.
I got chocolate bubblegum.
I'm gonna sing the Doom song now.
Sorry.
No, it's
Not that sorry.
it's very doomy.
It is very doomy.
And so yeah,
Portents of
Shepard's
doom.
like, "Uh-oh." And then
Oh shit, dog. Doom.
and so you're basically swept back up to the Citadel quickly to report to the council. And I don't want this to be like a Chrono Trigger-esque recounting of the entire plot. So
Sure.
Thank God.
let's skip over a couple things here where basically the council employs a group of like spooks, like special forces, like these like spy
That's
types.
racist.
You know what?
He said it
shouldn't-
before I did.
I shouldn't
so.
have done it.
No, he meant like CIA spooks.
Everyone
That's
knows what
that's
I
not-
meant.
yeah.
Called specters. Anybody got a fucking problem with that one?
I do. I'm part ghost.
Yeah, well,
On my father's side.
Yeah.
Ghost once ectoplasmed on me, so go fuck yourself.
Yeah, that's me, dog.
Oh,
Damn
God.
It was above the
I
bar
walked
when I
right
was
into
watching you
it,
play Mass
which is
Effect.
what happened that time too.
Yeah.
Hey, you mucus.
Ew.
I like to call it my clue goo.
Podcast canceled.
God.
Well, that was Mass
Kirk
Effect.
is constantly trying to get us canceled every time.
That's true. No, I mean I'm canceling it. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, fuck this.
Proactive
I
cancellation.
don't like you guys anymore.
Can't keep doing this. You guys are gross. Bye.
All right, so the council has specters who are basically they're spec ops.
Yeah. They're spies. They're also
SAS, like
Yeah.
James Bond.
But even more than that, they have like almost unilateral permission to do whatever
they
they
want.
need to do to accomplish their mission in any of the worlds in council space.
Right.
Yep.
So they're like more than just than like spies or like, you know, like they have like basically diplomatic immunity too. So they're very powerful. Humanity doesn't have a Spectre as far as we're aware at this point.
Right.
And humanity is vying to have a place on.
Bum.
Humanity is vying to have. Oh, I kind of glossed over something that was kind of important, but humanity is vying to have a place in the council and also to have the first human Spectre, so that humanity can kind of start competing and like throwing hands at the same level as the top species of the galaxy. And one thing that I had not talked about is that part of that opening sequence on Eden Prime includes kind of cryptic interaction with another member of the team who is on the ground with you, who is an alien by the type of Turian. So it's a Turian, and he is a Turian Spectre.
Nereus? Nihilus?
The Nihilus is the
Nihilus.
normal one, then Saren is the
So
bat,
there's two,
the
but
bat.
what we
So-
haven't met Sarah.
So we're
we
we're
did on
the
Eden
ground.
Prime.
Well, yeah,
But that's what I'm getting.
Oh, okay,
that's what I'm
okay.
getting around to. So Nihilus is on the ground, but he's not part of your team. You're just aware that he's out there doing his own thing. He's got his own things to investigate.
Yeah.
Nihilus is investigating, and we come across him coming across another Turian, and we're introduced to Saren, who is evidently another Turian Spectre,
and also Spock's father.
and yes, clearly,
Yeah.
and
That's Sarek.
in kind of a surprising moment, Nihilus is suddenly murdered by Saren. Saren shoots him from behind and disappears. And so this is what you're bringing to the council. You're saying, hey, like Saren is like, he's one of your specters, but he also just killed another one of your specters. Like there's something very wrong going on. And also my brain's got this weird, scary goo memories in it now. And
Saren is like half robot now too. That's kind of weird.
Okay,
like
he's got like a robot arm and he's very confusing and his eyes are cool, but scary.
Yeah.
This was my first problem with the game's plot, which I generally don't have many problems with, but it was like Nihilus is like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing? Why are you glowing blue from the inside?
What's with all the wires?
That doesn't sound right. Last time I saw you, you didn't have your jaw wired to your top jaw with metal. What's up with that? Like none of that.
It's like Metal Gear Solid. Just don't ask questions. Just deal with it. It's cool. It's cool. It looks cool. Shut up."
Yeah.
So I just want to get to like the crux of the plot, and then we can kind of talk about the game.
Yeah.
So okay, council. Saren kills Nihilus. We're going to the council. Say, hey, your Spectre killed another Spectre. That was weird. Why? Can I be?
Why?
Can I be a Spectre too? And then they're like, no. And then we're gonna prove ourselves, and we do. We prove ourselves to the council through a little bit of like boots on the ground in like investigator like cop work, and then we're going to take it back to the council. Like, okay, you can be
kind of a cop drama for a while there.
A little bit,
yeah.
And you can be. They're like, okay, cool, you can be a Spectre.
And Saren's a dick. Go find him.
And Saren, go hunt him down. And throughout this whole process, we're finding out that there is evidently another sentient race of machines that are from deep space that are seemingly on a galactic timescale cycle coming in and wiping out all civilization in the galaxy every 50,000 years or so.
To like feed on them.
To feed on or to purge or something is not quite made clear at this point, but they pose an
Reapers.
The Reapers, indeed. They pose some sort of existential threat to everyone.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure it out, and then we're going to go shoot people and sex some people up, and maybe one then the other, or the other and then the first in some order or other. And that's Mass Effect.
Okay. Okay.
Tell me what part of everything I just said isn't accurate 100%.
No, that's 100% correct. That is 100%.
Because also let's leave some mystery there. Like we know we're gonna solve some mysteries, and we're gonna bring some people to justice, and maybe fail to save some people. But there's some cool plot elements that we don't want to give too much away of. So.
And you can make Keith David president of the galaxy, which I did, because fuck yeah.
It's Keith David, man.
Yeah, President Keith David, fuck yes. Like I would.
Oh, also in terms of like cameo voice actors that like I'm super surprised at, but ultimately love. Seth Green as Joker is just awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Joker's great.
Joker is the pilot of the ship, the Normandy, which in terms of sci-fi ships is one of my favorites. I don't know why. It just looks fucking cool. And it's neat.
I love the
Normandy. In the overall like sci-fi pantheon of like that we could talk about. I think the Normandy is one of the coolest.
I want a little Normandy on my desk, I think.
I am actually like planning on 3D printing one for myself, and
Sweet.
Maybe I can make one for you too.
I'll take a Planet Express ship, thank you.
Oh, fuck yes.
Also, fair enough.
It's the good ship, Planet Express ship.
Exactly.
I loved this story. So the basic flow of it is like a lot of CRPGs. Each step of the plot, you're presented with branching options, which is you can go run off little side quests that are just kind of for fun and give, bonuses of experience and money and they'll affect the plot in various ways. Or you can run through the main plot. And it should be pretty obvious to you if you've played a game or watched a movie what the main plot shit is. For this playthrough, because I was like, I knew it was a big game and I really wanted to have it finished by today, I just ran straight through the main plot. I didn't do any side quests at all. So I'm really excited to go back and replay this. But I thought...
Honestly, some of the side content is Well, for one, it influences the second and third games quite a lot. In a couple, I'm not going to bring it up in specific ways. And some of it's just really good.
Yeah.
Like there are some very fun missions off on the side, off on planets that you might just miss.
Yeah. There's ones that delve more into the Geth and what they're all about.
Yeah.
And, because one of the characters you meet pretty early on in the game, she actually outright says, just to kind of exposition for the player, like, oh, my species created what is effectively this universe's Borg.
Yes.
Yeah. And how they're not inherently evil, they just kind of ran amok, really. Like, I'm oversimplifying, sure, but that's kind of...
Well,
this universe is really vibrant. There's so many, like, you learn about alien biology that, like, matters to you. Like, you care about, like, their plight, like the sterilization of an entire species, or the fact that, like, one species, the Quarians, doesn't have basically like an immune system, and so like they live in these virus suits their whole lives, and it's like it's just you care about your party members and like what's going on.
Can you romance Tally in this game, or is that like later on?
I don't think you can do it in this one. I don't think so. I think you can do it. Well, maybe to a degree, but I don't think you can go as far.
I only bring it up because
later.
Yeah, like what Benny was talking about with they have to live in these enviro suits. But if you choose to romance Tally, which you can, I think, in the later games, she brings it up like, I have a cold, my sinuses keep running, I have an infection, and because they live in these like enclosed.
She plans for their romantic rendezvous by taking a bunch of prophylactic
like antibiotics
medication.
and shit. Yeah, like so they go to that detail, and it's actually really entertaining and very sweet because she's like, it was worth it.
She's great too. Like she's just a wonderful character. Like, she's very sweet. And
she is
funny.
Also, to my memory, or maybe Garrus and Tali are the only two playable characters in all three games. Is Garrus playable in the third game?
I think so, yeah.
I really liked him too.
Garrus Vicarian is our Turian member of the team, and he is one of my favorites.
He's my favorite character. Even more so than Shepard himself. I'm like Garrus. Garrus is bae.
Well, yeah, he's just great. And
he only gets better throughout the series.
Yes.
Play 2, play 3, he only gets better.
I believe that. Yeah, because he was... and again, it's one of these things where... Okay, like again, it really, really reminded me of... And not to bring up a sore subject, but it really, really reminded me of Baldur's Gate, where I was like, these characters are really well fleshed out. They feel really vibrant and alive, and there's nobody that you get as a potential party member that isn't likable in some way. Mm-hmm. Like even the ones who make morally questionable choices. You're like, yeah, but I get where they're coming from. Yeah. It's explained. Nobody's just a shithead for the sake of being a shithead. I also really like what this game's plot reminded me of the most was the TV show The Expanse.
Yeah.
Where it feels so detailed. There's no corner of this world that you could go off into that wouldn't be fully populated with backstory and information and it was like that's what this game is to me. It's if I played a Baldur's Gate version of the TV show The Expanse, where it's these little set piece areas that are totally like filled to the brim with politics and culture and history and vibrant, alive characters
and bureaucracy
and bureaucracy and
the prototypes for this game. It's no surprise that the game ended up the way it would feel that way because like any good podcaster, I did a little bit of Wikipedia research, and because it's perfectly valid to not reinvent the wheel, but the game was influenced by films like Star Wars and Alien, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, which is like some of the drama and some of like the gritty like decision, like the being stuck in a bad position and having to make a decision. Blade Runner, Starship Troopers, and even Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. All of these were stylistic and setting related, but like, okay, you may not like it, but like stylistically at the time, it was really beautiful.
It really is. And it does definitely. I can see the parallels.
So like and when you think, like if you smash those all into like a ball and then like put it through a meat grinder and then assembled a sci-fi patty on the other side, you might get Mass Effect.
I also really liked, and we can get to it here in a minute, but I really liked the like location design. Every planet you go to feels in a really Star Wars-y kind of way, right? Like every planet in the Star Wars trilogy, because the perfect 3 and only 3 movies that Star Wars is, every location that you go to feels distinctly different, and it feels like its own environment. In this game, I kept going, wow, like this is so unique and different, and it feels like it almost came from a different game than the last location that I was in. And I loved that. I really loved actually the, I forget the name of the planet, but there's a planet that you go to that was like a Prothean colony. It's late in the game. And
it's not Pharos. It's
I think it starts with a V.
No, that's after Vermeer.
Okay. But so there's a very clear influence from I'm gonna forget his name, but it's he's a Polish painter. It's like Zbigniew Brzezinski.
Future Brent here. Close, but no cigar. It's Zadislaw Beksinski. He's one of my favorite painters. You should go check him out.
Something like that. But it's that, like, there's actually a really great game called Scorn that's a first-person shooter that's built around his art as well. And it has this, like, the end of the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds, where it's all the, like, tentacles and everything's like that. It's a very distinct art style. I was like, this is so cool. Like, this is such a departure from anything we've seen up to this point.
Yeah.
And every location feels like that. Every location feels like they really put time and effort into making it unique and memorable and beautiful. And I love that. It was just, it was one of my favorite parts.
Absolutely. And it's, to its credit, the Legendary Edition really, like, it bumps up textures and it bumps up like the overall visual fidelity, not to an insane degree, but like they do it justice by just, polygon counts are a little bit better. Textures are high definition, and it looks beautiful. It really does. Like, you have volcanic worlds that have a lot of mechanized industry. You have moons with no atmosphere. You have jungle worlds. You have worlds that are seemingly, well, like not seemingly, but are absolutely beautiful, but toxic. Like you have like the little, bits of things floating around that, like, if you read the little blurbs about the planets, you're like, oh, that would be beautiful right up until it kills you, that kind of stuff. The mysterious technology of the Prothean, the people who came before, and trying to, like, they did a good job of making it feel alien even to the other aliens of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that I love with the NPCs too, is you get their take on everything. And Do we want to put a bow on the plot before we go on and talk about, like, gameplay and sound and shit?
I think it's like,
just
sorry, go ahead.
Like a blurb about how it ends is what I was going to say. Like, because I mean, the middle part is really kind of.
That's true. This was always planned as a trilogy. They always planned this game to be
just like Lucas lied that he did.
Oh, okay, yeah,
yeah.
This was always actually planned to be more than one game, because you can tell that the end of this game is just the springboard for the subsequent plot that comes in the later games.
Yeah.
And ultimately culminates in an ending that everyone pretty much universally hated for one reason or another.
Wait, so gamers not being pleased with a thing? I'm shocked.
I actually don't loathe the ending. I don't like elements of it, but it's people like lodged complaints and like wanted to like sue over the ending. They felt like people thought they were like so betrayed and like misled that people wanted to sue over
suck.
Not this game's ending, the third game's ending.
Yeah.
But this game ends on kind of a cliffhanger where, as Kirk was alluding to, like we kind of want to like
Well, on the
lead
third
to where
game,
we lead
it
up.
wasn't a bad ending. It was a lack of context and clarification.
Yeah,
Because they ended up adding an
Yep.
update that, not that the endings fundamentally changed, they just elaborated on it more.
Yeah.
So just wanted to throw that out there.
No, that's absolutely true. They do add more context and backstory. It's like what they were thinking, or like what the fallout and the consequences of your actions, because the ending of the trilogy is wildly different depending on
Yes.
some choices that you make.
Okay.
Like things that impact like the galactic existence in general,
Okay.
like change drastically based on your decisions. Like you don't play through it, but like you think on it and you're like, oh, like I fucked everyone kind
Yeah.
of.
Like
Sweet.
one of them, the Mass Effect relays all explode, and it's like, well, you've just fucked galactic civilization as a whole. Regardless if everyone's alive or not, you've ruined interstellar travel for everybody.
Unless someone
That's still
else,
horrifying.
unless someone figures out how to make their own mass relays at this point, which is something that the Protheans did. I forgot about that element. Like
Yeah.
they talk about it when they meet that AI or that VI on that Prothean planet in this game.
Yeah.
You find out that the Protheans are actually really close. So I forgot about that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, we're chasing down Saren, and we find out that Saren is working with and trying to facilitate the return of the Reapers out of a very clearly mistaken thought or like position that if he works with or like submits
Yeah.
that humanity or like
He'll
the
be one of the
civilized
good
races, that the civilized races will be enslaved but ultimately survive the coming of the Reapers. But history seems to suggest otherwise, and that ultimately like fight or die is your options. And so in a pursuit across the galaxy, following in Saren's footsteps to try to stop him and track him down, you end up circling back and ending up through a previously unknown mass relay on the Citadel, back to the Citadel at the very beginning. Yeah, so it's basically a back door to the Citadel, and Saren makes his way. And what we haven't talked about yet is that he's been traveling in this crazy cool looking ship. The ship is called Sovereign,
Which is super important also because you don't know if Saren is
well, the ship seems to have some sort of a weird effect on the things around it, but
including
you're not
on the big titty girl.
Yes. But we're not immediately sure like what the relationship is and like what this giant it kind of looks like a
That's her name,
Crawdad?
BTG.
it looks like a crawdad or kind of like it's kind of insectoid or crustacean
Does look like a crawdad.
in a way, but more menacing and like less if you can call it cute, but like it's a very menacing looking ship.
More menacing than
And-
a crawdad.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna pinch you. Pinch you
That
and
is
snap my
that
tail
is
at you
such a
little bit.
low bar to cross, but it does leap over it.
It's also colossal. Like this
Yeah.
thing is truly massive. And you can tell that the Geth modeled their ships off of Sovereign.
very much.
And it's a unique ship. You don't see another one in this game. It's the singular instance of this.
Right.
Until a pivotal moment in the middle where we realize Sovereign's not a ship. It is an entity. It is a Reaper.
Right.
It's the vanguard of the Reapers. It is there to facilitate the return of the rest of them from deep space. And so now we're in a race not only to stop Saren, but to stop him from letting Sovereign have its way. And so the Citadel itself is also a mass relay.
Right.
And see, I didn't want to give away all the things, but we're kind of covering the culmination here.
Sure.
And we're racing to stop him from opening the mass relay to deep space to allow all the Reapers to return.
Yeah. And that, by the way, is and this is one of the things that I think that struck me the most about this game was that mission or that level where you're running, because what winds up happening is to make it to Sovereign, you wind up like breaking through the glass on an elevator inside a Citadel and running alongside the exterior, basically, interior, exterior, but through deep space along the exterior of Citadel, and you're fighting the Geth and some of their allies. It is one of the coolest missions. It feels so cinematic. Mm-hmm. And if there's one thing that I would say to describe this game to get somebody to play it, is so many games are like, oh, we want to be cinematic. And what they mean is they're going to force you to watch a fucking movie. Mm-hmm. That's what they mean when they say cinematic. This game feels like you are playing a movie. There's so much of it where the combination of the music and the plot and the way that cameras are angled and the way that things are set up, it really feels truly cinematic without detracting from the sense that you're in control.
It's like the tertiary relationship of like show don't tell.
Yeah.
But it's like play don't show.
Exactly. That's a wonderful way of describing it. Yes, 100%.
The surface of the Citadel's not even, and you're basically like trying to make it, and you're in zero gravity at this point. Like you're outside of the environs of the Citadel. So like all of a sudden up is outward and not up anymore. And so like you're running across the surface.
And as you're shooting enemies, they're drifting off into deep space. It's really cool.
You're like fighting big cannons, repurposing big cannons to shoot at other oncoming Geth ships and stuff. It's very cool.
Yeah.
And then we fight, we finally have our encounter with Saren. We fight him. He gets stabbed, and then Sovereign takes over his body, and he becomes the coolest looking bad guy for a little while there.
And I loved because so throughout the game you've encountered these Geth, and I forget the model name of the Geth that you fight, but these Geth that like they basically lie in wait and clinging to high surfaces, and then they will jump down really fast, shoot you, and then jump away. And the form of Saren that you fight at the very end, this isn't even my final form, but it is actually, of Saren that you fight at the end that's basically controlled by Sovereign, is that, but of Saren. It's really cool. It's really cool. You can tell that there's like connective tissue between the Geth and the Reapers, which is, it's almost, because one of the elements of the plot is, and you mentioned this, Benny, that it's that galactic civilization has a cycle to it. And it almost feels like if the Reapers didn't exist, that Talia's people would have created them with the Geth.
Yeah, and at some point, like, it's either they inevitably would have happened, or I think as alluded to, like the Geth discovered the Reapers, but ultimately like the Geth became uncontrolled, or like, they lost control of them and they became their own entity, their own thing. They're very much not what the Quarians originally intended.
Quarians, thank you. That actually, I really liked that story too, because and actually there's two sort of mirrored story. They rhyme, to quote George Lucas, but there's two sort of mirrored stories where the Geth, it's sort of implied that if the Quarians hadn't decided to annihilate them, like once they discovered that they had become sentient, that the Geth wouldn't have revolted. Like there's
a galactic fear of synthetic beings that have intelligence. And it kind of mirrors, like you said, it kind of mirrors the whole Reaper threat. Like there's some sort of existential threat implied, but then we're going to break that down in subsequent plot lines and games and kind of really talk about like what's the implication and like where we write about that. What are other storylines of this?
Yeah.
Like the virtual intelligence that gains, or the AI that gains sentience on the moon that we have to shut down,
Ooh. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah. There's another.
I saw. Okay, I got.
Like
Lars Henriksen asked me to go. That voice is not that. That's like one of those like he has a wonderful voice, but he's a terrible voice actor because every time I hear his voice, I'm like, oh shit, it's Lars Henriksen. I love him. And that's not what you want from a voice actor at all. But I heard that plot thread and I just never went and investigated it because again, I didn't do any of the side plots. But I love actually when I was talking about when it's the two sort of mirrored stories, wasn't the Reapers, it's the Krogan. Because the Krogan were non-sentient and the hyper smart people that only live to 40 that are super annoying.
The
Solarians, thank you. Like genetically uplifted them. Mm-hmm. And then they as soldiers, and then they basically took over the galaxy.
Sterilized them.
And then they sterilized them. And it's like, fuck.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to bring you guys, like, we're going to fuck up your species to help us fight a threat that we introduced through the Rachni, which is another alien species, who ultimately are more complex than just mindless killing machines that we're still going to try to purge outright. And then, but now the Krogan have become their own threat, and now we're going to have to do something about them, and we're going to sterilize their entire species. And the only reason they exist is because they're incredibly long-lived at this point. And they're in this age-long, millennia-long pursuit of a cure to restore their fertility. Yeah. Which is like fucking deep and scary.
Then the Arachnid, that's a whole different plot point, depending on whether or not what you do with your actions.
Save the Arachnid Queen or not?
Because that could be potentially bad or good in later games.
Oh, I did. I don't know how that plays out, but I totally did that.
But it's one where it will influence something one way or another later. It's very open-ended.
I just want to touch on one more thing on the plot, and then I will shut up because I've talked a lot. But
the plot is really the meat of this game.
Yeah, and I don't know. I assume it's come across, but I think of all the games that I've played for the first time on this podcast, because I'd played Link's Awakening before and I'd played Chrono Trigger before. I think of all the games that I've played for the first time for the podcast, this is my favorite. I loved this fucking game. I will absolutely be playing 2 and 3. That's what's happening next. I loved it.
We'll play through the first game again. Yeah. Like, do all the sides, make all the decisions you want to do. And then carry that. I'm definitely do it that way. Yeah. Because the second and third game aren't as fun unless you can bring over your choices from the subsequent games.
Hell yeah. But yeah, so I really loved it. But one of the things that frustrated me about this game was, and I went and I looked up a guide. I was like, is there a way to do this? I don't believe there is. And if I'm wrong, guys, to tell me. So we mentioned briefly that one of the characters, his name's Rex. He's a member of the Krogan race, which is the one that, so they run a grocery store chain across the South called Kroger.
Damn it.
And they have been artificially sterilized by a virus that was created called the genophage. There's a moment in the game where you are told that, hey, the bad guys are trying to fix that. They're trying to create an antidote to the genophage. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, okay, cool. So I saved one race. I want to go save this other one. And I could not find a way to do that within the game. Is that a possible, can you do that?
How about I answer that question by saying, treat the plot lines and the universe and the storyline as a series, as just 1/3 of a whole in terms of the 3 games.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't want to give anything away, but
sure. But I just mean within Mass Effect 1, is there a way that I could have not destroyed that?
The facility.
Facility and
no.
Okay. All right, cool. Then I'm fine with that. Then I'm not.
I wanted to be very cagey about that.
Yeah, please do, because
Rex's justification is very valid.
Yep.
The trick is getting
Rex was one of my favorite characters.
The trick is just getting him to calm down and be like, we need to take care of this at a later time. Yeah, and there's other things going on.
You have to have your Renegade or your Paragon high enough to get by that.
And I did read through the guide, and I did see that there were ways to save Rex. But I'm talking about like could I have not destroyed the facility to? Okay, all right, cool. Well, then I'm fine. Then I'm not angry about that.
That mission really serves as a staging ground for a concept that Mass Effect will really embrace going forward, which is you may not be able to save everyone.
Yeah.
Going forward, you mostly can, but you may not be able to save everyone, and they really want you to kind of embrace that as an idea. And it's more realistic that way, you know. And
I was so happy to not save Ashley after that. I was like, fuck that bitch. It was great because it was like seconds after she shoots Rex, it's like, hey, who should go off on this really dangerous mission? I was like, Ashley. Her. And it's like, okay, well, she probably won't. Ashley. Ashley should go. And then 20 minutes later, it's like, who do you save? Caden or Ashley? Let her die. Fuck her. I will save Caden.
Everyone has a strong opinion about that decision. Almost universally. Everyone saves someone the same time every time.
And if I could have saved Rex, I'm sure I would have felt differently, but yeah, no, I was fucking pissed at her. I was like, no, she can die.
I thought Caden was uninteresting, so I kill him every time.
I do too.
I like him.
He's just not interesting. His story just isn't fleshed out as much as Ashley and her background, where she came from. Caden, they kind of, I feel like they ignore a lot.
That's fair.
Tend to agree.
And again, part of it too is you guys have done a quote unquote full playthrough, and I just raced through the main plot. Just kind of by accident, roaming around the Normandy, spent more time talking to Caden than almost anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had some affection for that character by the time that happened, whereas Ashley, her default reaction to everything is to be like, hey, those people are different than me, so fuck them. And it's like, she might have very good reason for that, but I was just like, oh, so she's a space racist. Fine. That's fine.
Well, get to know her a little more, and then you can kind of figure out why she's that way.
Absolutely. No,
and then she can come around and change her mind.
Fair.
Yeah.
And
it's not her directly, for what it's worth, not to spoil anything. It's not her fault, but we are a product a lot of times of our environment and how we were raised.
Absolutely.
And in subsequent games, I think you have better opportunities to develop relationships with characters than you do in the first game. So I really like how the series develops that ability or that dynamic.
Is a space racist a spacist?
It's a spracist.
Spracist, got it.
Hey everybody, Future Brent here. We're going to go ahead and cut the episode here and pick it back up in 2 weeks where we finish our conversation about the characters and then go into graphics and sound and overall thoughts on Mass Effect. If you like what we're doing, please go check us out on Amazon Music, Spotify, Libsyn, and of course YouTube. And we also have a Discord that we'd love to talk to you guys on there. We regularly post updates about future videos, podcast episodes, and just general nonsense. But yeah, we hope to see you guys again soon. And as always, bye.
I'll show you my Mass Effect.
When he whips it out and drops his cock right on a nearest island.
Destroys all the poor Moai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Diamond Crater Mountain, Benny's cock. He did that.
Benny's cock's what killed the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yep.
65 million years ago.
That was the most Texas way I could have said that. Benny's cock's what's killed the dinosaurs.
You could have said, thank you, Lord Jesus.